This is the first video on my channel. So the goal of this channel um, is hopefully going to be a place where I can shed light on many of the buildings throughout America and eventually the world, and hopefully highlight a lot of the inconsistencies in the narratives with them. Because I feel like there are quite a bit of glaring inconsistencies with the stories on how these buildings got to where they are. So I think I'm going to highlight some of that today with the Nelson-Atkins Museum of Fine Art in Kansas City, Missouri, in the United States. I want to show how I believe it is a old world structure belonging to the previous civilization. And this is an old construction photo of it at the time. Now, you might be wondering what I mean by an old world structure and prior civilization. And all that kind of stems from this grander idea of Tartaria, as many people in the community call it. Basically, it's not in the history books, but it's a theory that there was once a grand prior civilization, possibly at a worldwide scale, that had advanced technology beyond our own today. And I believe that's evident by many of the mind-boggling structures that we see, like in the World's Fairs, in parts of Europe, in the United States, all over the world we see these structures. We see evidence of mud floods, large amounts of dirt, and possibly some sort of reset event. I believe there were a group of founders who found a lot of these buildings dead and repurposed them, basically just took them over. And I believe that's what happened with the Nelson as well. It was found there, and they just came in and used it. I mean, there are just multiple buildings around the world that fit this pattern. You know, they're usually government buildings, but like, that is strange once you really start to think about it. But hopefully, the goal of these videos is to shed a light on all this and hopefully show more people how many inconsistencies there are, how many coincidences. If you're interested more in Tartaria, you should check out Mind Unveiled. I will try to link their channel in the bio. They had an absolutely amazing series. I love it. It got me into all this stuff, but it's great. I'd highly suggest checking it out after this video. But if you also have any buildings that you'd like me to search up and do a deep dive look into, feel free to leave them in the comments. I love finding new buildings to look at, so it's highly appreciated. We're going to just do a little overview into what the Nelson looks like today, where it is. It's located in Kansas City, Missouri, right in the heart of the United States, as you can see here. It's a beautiful, massive architectural marvel. I mean, I have been here in person, and it is gorgeous to see. With the shuttlecocks on the lawn, that's one of the highlights of it. But it is located in Kansas City, Missouri. It's free to visit, so if you're ever in the area, I highly suggest stopping by. It has nearly 40,000 works of art, and it's free to the public. Art is wonderful, but I believe what's more beautiful is the building itself. You see here also the interior. This is like what I would call a modernized interior. I'll get to some pictures later of some of the original interior of this building, and it is marvelous. But the museum was established in 1933 and features a collection of nearly 40,000 works of art. Like I said, it's free to the public. I definitely suggest taking the time to check it out if you're in the Kansas City area. The building is gorgeous. It's just such a great time. It's a 6-story building, 390 feet by 175 feet wide, in the Beaux Arts architecture style. It's also kind of up on a hill at this point. They've added a hill as time has gone on. It used to be flat. But yeah, this is a beautiful photo as well. Here are some photos of the interior. This is like the courtyard area. They have a little cafe. Here you can eat. Interestingly enough, this all used to be outdoors. So this was all grass at one point, and this ceiling wasn't here. This is all original. These stone columns, the the ceilings up here have like art on them, paintings. It's incredible. This is one of the area, they say the entire building is built on limestone, but this feels like marble or granite to me. Just completely smooth finish. The walls, the columns, no scratches. It's perfect. No details were spared. The beautiful wood ceilings, the chandeliers. Um, it's just all gorgeous once you're in there. You just really see that it was like money wasn't an option, and they could just do whatever they wanted. Um, this is kind of the main hall room as soon as you walk in. Um, I can't remember the channel's name off the top of my head, but I'll try and edit it in here, and I'll link it in the channel below, or the bio below. He goes over a great dive into these columns, and it's just one of the things about these buildings that you don't really think about until someone points it out to you. Like, these are 50-foot tall black marble pillars indoors that are supporting load-bearing walls. They are without scratches, almost cymatic, perfect bases with these intricate, perfect-looking caps. I mean, it's how did these get in here? Like, these are the questions that we have to ask, um, because we don't see things like this in the modern day. And if something like this was done in the modern day, it would be a massive undertaking and probably make headlines, because it's spectacular. Um, this is also some of the interior. This is that same area, double-headed phoenix symbology right there. I believe that's kind of evidence of the hijackers. These blocks are huge, like well over the size of my hand. You got these paintings for scale. This is one of the, I believe, more original rooms with the black marble. A lot of artifacts in here. But yeah, it's just a great museum. Beautiful architecture. This is the block building, which they added in, I believe, 2007. It's a contemporary art, like modern art building, right next to the Nelson. It's spelled B-L-O-C-H. I think it should be spelled B-L-O-C-K though, because it does look like a block. It looks very easy to clean. Looks like it'd be a great place for some graffiti, in my opinion. But this is it from the outside. I also don't want to be one of those people who completely dog on newer architecture, because I do believe it is an art form in its own right, and I do believe there are people who are very passionate about it today, who use the things that they have to make beautiful architectures. I think this looks cool, but when compared to this, it is very easy to tell which was more complex and difficult to build. This picture, I think, illustrates it perfectly. This is a lot of glass and steel. Kind of looks like plastic too to me. This is stone, and it's bigger. I mean, it just puts it all into perspective. But I love this picture. But yeah, the block building. Feel free to visit that one too if you're in the area, but I mostly stuck here.
The reason why my mic sounds a little different all of a sudden is because my audio quality went out like halfway through my recording, so I had to grab a new mic. Um, but continuing on, you might be wondering how such an amazing building found itself nestled in the heart of America. And you would have this man primarily to thank. His name is William Rockhill Nelson, and he was the publisher of the Kansas City Star, a newspaper that's still active today. He was a philanthropist, and after his death in 1915, he left behind $11 million from his trust fund for purchasing art, as well as his Oak Hall estate, which is here, which they say was the site that the museum was put on after this building was demolished, the Oak Hall. I get a lot of numbers when researching how much money he actually left behind. I get 6 million sometimes, 11 million. It's just strange. There's also a lot of odd details about his wife, son-in-law, and his daughter, and apparently his lawyer, all giving money towards this effort to build this museum just because he was so passionate about it. But this is Nelson. So you might be wondering, where's Atkins? This is Mrs. Mary McAfee Atkins. She was the widow of a Mr. James Burris Atkins. He was, I believe, in real estate involved in early real estate in Kansas City. I didn't really find a lot of information on him, uh, but she, I guess, leaves behind $300,000 of her estate for the construction of a gallery building. This grew to 700,000 by 1927, which was attributed to a booming economy. I just found this strange. I think this slide does a great job illustrating how little information there really is about this woman. I believe it says that she goes to Europe at some point and gains a love for the arts, and she returns to America and stated in her will that she wanted to leave behind an art collection for the future generations. I just find it weird that she did not leave behind nearly as much as Nelson in terms of money, yet she gets almost as much credit as he does. It just seems strange, especially considering that we don't have a lot of information on her. I guess she was a school teacher. Um, I don't know, just seems odd. And it just seems like something that they kind of throw at us to be like, oh yeah, here's the story. Don't ask any questions about it, you know. There's just tons of holes to me. Oh, also, the two trustees of the two estates, both Nelson's and Atkins, decided to pool their funds together at some point and build a joint museum instead of two separate art galleries. Um, so that's apparently how they find themselves together after both of their deaths, of course. This happens, but this is the Oak Hall. This was William Rockhill Nelson's estate. Um, these three pictures are without a doubt the same building. This one is not. I included it because this pops up a lot when I'm researching Oak Hall. I'm not sure why. I thought I'd just throw it in there, but these three, I believe, are the actual old Oak Hall. And as you see, we just have this, this stonework. See present, the vines growing over it. Like, this building has been here for a while at this point, evident of all the fauna growing on it. This is just a strange part of the narrative. This is Oak Hall, and funny enough, and Oak Hall still stands today. It is the Oak Hall condominiums. These were built sometime in 1930, after the original Oak Hall was demolished in 1928. I believe, in my opinion, that Oak Hall was here at one point, and after it was destroyed in the 30s, or in 1928, excuse me, they built this apartment complex in the 30s. I think even it's evident as far as this, you compared this stonework to that of the building, and I think they match. Like, this is kind of them showing us in our faces, oh look, this is where Oak Hall used to be. I think this drive up could even be the same. Apparently this building was open to the public before it was demolished. Teddy Roosevelt came and visited it at some point. I'm not sure why I wasn't really able to find information on that. I definitely would like to do a deep dive into this building and these condominiums, just because I think it's interesting. I'd love to see some more information on that. Apparently this is where the Nelson was built, but I don't think it's true. This condominium is actually very close to the Nelson, like right next door pretty much. So I think it's just very interesting. And speaking of interesting, I think it's very interesting to see construction photos from the Nelson-Atkins itself. And so we're going to start moving in that direction. First, I want to talk about the architects. Thomas and William White were the most prestigious architects in Kansas City. Their firm was called White and White. I wish I had some photos to show you of these two brothers, but they were just too busy, I guess, creating all these massive neoclassical buildings throughout Kansas City. They just didn't have time to get their picture taken, I guess, because there's not one of them I was able to find. They built a ton of buildings, are attributed to designing a ton of these buildings throughout Kansas City. Just a laundry list of them, but these are a few that I think really stand out. We have the Kansas City Hall, completed in 1937. The Livestock Exchange Building, 1909 to 1911 is the date on that one. The Wyandotte County Courthouse, 1925 to 1927. And the Kansas City Life Insurance Building, built 1924, apparently. Um, these guys were getting around, I guess, designing very large, intricate buildings. I mean, these two reflect the Nelson a lot, in my opinion. I believe this is the same material the Nelson is made out of. Even down to the reliefs we see on the building are very similar to that of the Nelson as well. But I mean, these guys, just a laundry list of magnificent buildings. There's even more than this, and I'd for sure I'll probably do deep dives into a lot of these buildings later on in my channel, and maybe even White and White more in depth. But these brothers were from New York, not sure what brought them to Kansas City, but at the request of William Rockhill Nelson's son-in-law, the two brothers designed the Nelson in a neoclassical design using specifically Indiana limestone. Ground was broken on the museum in July of 1930. These gentlemen here in their hats, they look very not suspicious at all, you know. It was open to the public December 11th, 1933, in a Beaux Arts style, and was modeled after the Cleveland Museum of Art. Apparently costed only $2.75 million to build at the time as well. These are some just old photos from the opening time, I believe. Here are some of the construction photos that we have. And some things I want you to notice is the amount of dirt here. The fact that the building is built at this point. These construction photos always have the building finished. It is completed. And so I just find this very strange. We don't ever get to see them raising one of these columns, placing these ginormous blocks. Like it's built, as far as I can see. I also think it's important to note, before we continue, this is a photograph made by Oscar Relander. Apologies if I butchered the name. And it's called Two Ways of Life. What is interesting about this photograph is it was the first composite photograph using around 30 different negatives. So what this means is that when this photo was released, they had the ability to not only composite or Photoshop pictures, they had the ability to do it very well. And this photo came out in 1857. So nearly almost 100 years before the Nelson is even built. So if they have the ability to do this with photographs, what else could they do? I ask you. I learned this actually from Mind Unveiled. They're a great YouTube channel. Highly suggest checking them out if any of this interests you. But this photo is very strange to me for a couple of reasons. It's dated to 1932, and as we saw earlier, ground was broken in July of 1931. So that means, even if I'm being generous and saying that this photo was taken in December, that only leaves a year and a half for this structure to be built. I don't see how that could be possible with our 1930s technology. I also want you to look at these strange blots, these vanilla skies you see a lot in these old photos. Just looks unnatural to me. This is a section that I thought was very interesting. On a lot of these photos of the Nelson, you see these strange blots here. And I guess, let me give you some background. There are 32 stone panels surrounding the walls of the Nelson. They're stone reliefs that were designed by Charles Keck sometime after the museum opened. He also designed the large metal doors that you'll see as you enter. But in this photo, when I zoomed in here, I thought I saw what I believe to be tampering We see here the outline of the relief. It almost fades off over here, but to me, it looks like someone came in with like whiteout and tried to cover up whatever was here. Then I also see here these strange dark gray marks that appear to have little holes and gaps in them, and I thought it was odd, but I didn't want to do too much before looking at some other photos. So I found another photo from the time of a different angle. It's this one up here, is the large version. Once again, we see these stone reliefs, just the squares of them, nothing in them yet. But more importantly, we see these dark blots again, but I notice this time it appears to have a different pattern. It appears to show more. And when you compare the two, I think it's without a doubt that this is some sort of tampering evidence to remove these reliefs from the photos. I think these reliefs have been here as early as when the building was completed, whenever that was. I mean, if you just compare this middle one, we see a whole bottom section, as opposed to here we see nothing. All of these stone panels are very interesting. And here's a better picture of what it looks like without all these boards. I believe they like put these here to cover this up so people couldn't see it while they were constructing it. But I mean, I think it lines up pretty well. But this is the stone relief in the front of the Nelson. There are a lot more of them, but I had a very difficult time trying to find photos of them on the internet. So hopefully in a second part, I want to try and dive more into these stone reliefs and get a little greater sense of what they are talking about, what they could be saying. But there are 32 of them around the Nelson, all designed by Charles Keck sometime after the museum opened. They're very interesting. It says they are apparently depicting the American settlers' victory over Native Americans. It says they were finished in 1933 by Charles Keck. So after the time of release. So at this point they should not have been here. This photo was in 1932. So these reliefs should not even be seen, yet I think it's without a doubt that they're there. I would for sure love to do more research and a deeper dive into these stone reliefs in the future, possibly in a part 2. Get some better photos and show all of them to you guys. This is another one. Just some strange imagery. I mean, it appears this looks like either a boat or smokestacks in the back. Which, if these are settlers, why are there smokestacks or boats, you know? We have Native American sitting here. Just strange. Another massive hole in the narrative is the lack of people in all of those construction photos from earlier. If it was really being built, you'd see so many workers. And not just any workers, but skilled, talented artisans who can build in that Beaux Arts style. This is an image that the Nelson, I believe, put out on their Facebook page a few years ago, saying that, like, oh, for the first time we found a picture of the men who built the Nelson. And so these are the gentlemen who apparently built it, because it says it right here, so we can't argue with this. Obviously, if you can pick up on my sarcasm, I think just because there is a little note here does not really mean anything. I don't even think this looks similar to the Nelson at all, in my opinion. If anything, this looks closer to those Oak Hall condominiums that we went over a little earlier, and I would be willing to bet that that's what this is. I think to wrap up this first video, I'm going to end by asking ChatGPT a question. This is an idea I got from my lunch break. He is a great channel. If you're interested in this stuff, you should definitely check it out. However you feel, no matter how you feel about I feel like this is the type of question it's great for answering. It's a type of collective consciousness of the internet in a way. So I feel like it's perfect for something like this. But I asked ChatGPT how long and what would it take to build an art museum in Kansas City that is a 6-story structure that is 390 feet by 175 feet wide in a classical Beaux Arts architecture style in 1931, also using Indiana limestone. This is its answer. It said, a Beaux Arts style building would require an extensive design phase, likely involving top architects, engineers, artisans, and craftsmen. And with Beaux Arts' elaborate detailing, symmetry, and grandeur, this could extend the phase for up to 1 to 2 years. Even in 1931, they would still have to get approval from the city, so this could add another 6 months. And when it comes to sourcing the materials, it says that it could take several months to get all the limestone for the building to Kansas City from Indiana. I argue that this could take even longer considering how much limestone appears to be used in the Nelson. But I'll say just about 6 months to be generous. The foundation would take 6 to 9 months to lay out and is one of the most important parts of the job, even according to ChatGPT. I think it's even crazier than to see how many of these buildings are missing this crucial step of the process photographed, including the Nelson. You also have to think about when they can dig. Digging foundational holes in the winter is not an easy thing to do, even today with our modern power tools, so they had to do it in a time when the ground was soft. ChatGPT estimates that this step would take 6 to 9 months. Now, if you're keeping track of the timeline in your head right now, this should be where things start to not make sense. ChatGPT estimates that building the superstructure would likely take 1 to 2 years. The height of the building and complexity of the Beaux Arts detailing, like the columns, the arches, the sculptures, would slow down the pace. So we're talking 1 to 2 years to build out the shell of this building. Just the shell, just the outer. And the interior detailing could take up to 1 to 2 years on its own and would require another clown car full of skilled stone carvers, stone masons, and other craftsmen. It doesn't stop there though. Cutting, shaping, and placing the limestone would take nearly 12 to 18 months of detailed work. The expansive and elaborate interior spaces of the building had to be made, and they would probably take 12 to 18 months of detailed work as well. Plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, while not as complex of today, would have had to been installed. Another 6 months for that. So all in all, ChatGPT estimates that a museum built in Kansas City using Indiana limestone in 1931 would likely take around 3 to 5 years, assuming a smooth process without any major delays. Mind you, they would be building this around the time of the Great Depression. So, all things considered, a lot of words popped up a lot in that. Skilled, detailed, elaborate. This is not a building that is built by any old construction workers. You have to be intelligent. You have to know how these things work. These are detailed structures. The detail is unreal, and it takes such a skilled craftsman to make something like this. 3 to 5 years. I want to note also that I asked this exact same question to ChatGPT after, and it actually gave me a completely different answer. It shortened the entire estimate to 1 to 2 years, and even pulled from the Nelson story. Like in its answer, it said like, "Oh, it actually looks like there's already a building that fits that description, so 1 to 2 years." You know, it estimated off of the mainstream story, which I thought was interesting. That happened the second time and not the first. So, I mean, this is a great example. July of 1931, the ground is being broken, and in 1932, this is built. Once again, this is at most a year and a half difference. Going back to what we just learned, I mean, it just does not seem. It's impossible. It's impossible. I think I'll end the video here. Hopefully, this got you to think. Hopefully, this got you to expand your mind to possibilities that could be beyond our own. Expand your mind to the idea that maybe we aren't the greatest civilization that's ever been on this earth. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please let me know your thoughts and comments below. I love feedback, and I plan on making a lot more videos in the future, possibly more deep dives into the Nelson and other architectural marvels around the land that I believe need to have a lens put on them so we can understand them better. But please leave your likes and comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, and love you all.